Who knows? We'll see.
Good evening. Welcome. We're going to call the meeting to order for the Lake Jackson City Council on Monday, February 7th, 2022. This is a regular session starting at 6:30 p.m. at 25 Oak Drive, Lake Jackson, Texas. This evening we're going to have Pledge Allegiance led by Councilwoman Ron Sapp.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
If you would, take your hats off and join me in the invocation. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion as we learn of the needs of our community. Lord God, we ask, as we make decisions that might affect our community, we ask that you speak your wisdom to us and continue to remind us that all that we accomplish this evening is for the greater glory of you. We ask that you continue to watch over the lives of those that serve to protect us, our police, our fire, volunteer firemen, our EMS, and our military. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, next thing on the agenda, we have visitors' comments. This is an opportunity for any visitors that join us this evening to comment on something that is not on the agenda, regular or consent. Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations. Item 1, we have a presentation on newly appointed staff members.
Well, I think most of you already know Robin. Robin was, for many years, our Assistant Parks Recreation Director, and Jeremy went off to sunny California.
Yeah.
And Robin's been our interim director for the last couple of months, and just recently she's done a great job. So we have taken the interim title off, and she now is our Parks Recreation Director, and she's looking to fill her old position.
Yes.
So if you know anyone,
Yeah.
she's an assistant.
Yes, really quick, really quick. So anyway, but yes, thank y'all so much. I'm excited. I've been in this Parks and Rec since I was 15 years old, actually. So I really love it. I've done just about every part of it. And, you know, I always say, do what you love what you do. And I can truly say I really do love my job. I always have. So anyway.
Congratulations.
Thank y'all so much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Then next up, Sabrina is going to make an introduction.
Hello. I'd like to introduce, well, I'm not introducing him because one over here. This is Cynthia Dewitt. She is our new Public Works Superintendent. She comes to us from the city of Galveston.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I can talk about you all night if you like, but
Trust me, there is nothing to say. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. I've actually been in the public works field for 21 years, and I operated the sanitation division there at City Hall, sanitation, recycling, and the administration. I was over sanitation and recycling since December of 2009, so I do come with some experience, but I am still learning City of Lake Jackson, and I say this every day, y'all have the most beautiful city here. It is really beautiful, and again, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
welcome. And to make room for Cynthia, we moved Rick. You guys have met Rick Smith before. He was our Public Works Superintendent, and he has been so kind as to accept our offer to, or a request to go down to the utilities and become the utility superintendent. We've been looking for one for quite a little while now, and Rick was up for the challenge.
Good evening. I do agree, we do have the most beautiful city, so thank you. It is a welcome challenge, and I do look forward to it, getting into the utilities department. It's a new area for me, but I am looking forward to it. It's nothing we can't handle. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Rick has provided a lot of stability in public works. Even though he doesn't have really city experience, he has a lot of private sector experience, and he took a chance on us. We took a chance on him, and it's just been a great move. And I think I think he'll bring those same attributes to the utility department. So we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. Welcome.
All right, next item is declaration of conflict of interest. This is where members of city council have the opportunity to declare if they have a conflict with any item that's on the consent or regular agenda. Does any member of council have a conflict to declare?
No, sir.
Okay, not hearing any, we move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda item 1 is approved minutes from January 18, 2022. And item 2 is approve a 1-year extension of the Bradsport Cleaning Plus for custodial services for the Civic Center rental rooms in the amount not to exceed $70,200. Is there a request to remove any item from the consent agenda? All right, not hearing any, I'll take a motion on the consent agenda.
Move for approval, consent agenda items 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to regular agenda. All right, we're going to be opening up a public hearing. Opening a public hearing to consider the sale of .4893 acres of parkland located at 818 Lake Road and .9657 acres of parkland located at 902 Lake Road in Lake Jackson, Texas.
Milford, can you bring up that map? This came up, this was a council request for us to look at, I believe, during the summer. It may have been a little bit earlier.
During budget, because we were talking
Was it during the
because we were
budget?
talking about the projects
Correct.
for new parks.
Yeah, and so the question, really came up, if we were going to start implementing some of the projects in the master plan, a key one in this area was moving the playground in Timber Creek to the other side of Timber Creek. This opened up a possibility here, or at least the question, what would we be doing with this property? And there was really no plans out of the master plan. And so council had the discussion and then also approved a resolution to pursue selling, this property and taking that to the voters. Of course, just for the audience, education, and Sherry will chime in if I get anything wrong, is that anytime we have parkland in the system and we do want to sell it, we have to take that to the voters for approval. So this is the first step tonight. It's a public hearing, and council would vote if they want to put this on the ballot, and then the voters would have to approve that sale. If it's approved, then we would go out for bid on the property. And it may be one tract, or we may break it up. That's council's prerogative how to break that up if it's already approved by the voters. We've done it a couple of times. There was a small parcel of land in the HEB tract that we did. We probably did it 3 times. I think there was another small piece of parkland next to a church, and then we had a triangle at Dunbar Park there at the by Northwood that we got approved by the voters, but then we never sold it, and now we brought it back into the fold, so now it's parkland again.
Are we in time to catch the March election, or are we too late?
Yes, if you pass the resolution tonight, then it would be put on not the March election, it'll be put on the May
Okay.
ballot.
City election, okay.
Have
That's
we,
right.
have we had any feedback from any of the residents around?
I've heard that there's been some discussion on social media, but I don't think staff has taken any calls, and that's why you're having a public hearing.
So this land, if it goes on sale, would it be, you said it has to be bid on, so it would not be sold as a normal real estate transaction? It would be as a public bid process?
That's how we sell real estate. You get an appraisal, and you set the minimum fair market appraisal, and then you ask for bids. That's how you sell real property.
And most likely, before we went out for bid, we would ask council what you would want this zoned, so that anybody buying this would know what they could do with the property.
Right now, the zoning for the areas are what?
Sal,
R1 probably.
What's the zoning for this area? Is this R1?
All land coming in is R1.
Yep. So it could easily fall into R1 category, unless we want to change it.
The decision to chop it up into more than one lot, is that something we make unilaterally, or do we have to sell it as it is currently platted?
You could probably replat it and sell it into individual lots, so you could sell it all together and let the developer, but they probably want some stipulations if, if you wanted a certain lot size. But we can work out those details once you decide to.
But you don't have to
take
have
the
that
voters.
for taking it to the voters. Voters can just approve the sale itself.
They approve the sale of the parkland.
The
Do we
only-
have, do we have a appraisal value of the land yet?
No, we would not get that until the voters approved the
Okay.
sale.
So
if they
the
do.
only feedback that and this is really just for clarification, the only feedback that I've seen or heard on it is regarding from the other property owners around regarding drainage. Their concern has been, people build here, is it gonna, but from my understanding, anything that is built there has to not in any way negatively impact. Is that correct? Yes, okay.
I'll let Sally in.
Mr. Mundo, that property, we're probably gonna have to do a little bit more research on the, on the deed restrictions that property carries, because it is also part of what was originally the Dow property, the Lake Farms area, and they did carry some of their own regulations as far as the size. So we're just gonna have to look real close into what those restrictions are.
For lot size.
For lot size, correct.
Not for use size, just for lot size.
Yeah, just for lot size.
Yeah, and then Sal, it's true too, the drainage piece, they're not allowed to build and negatively impact their neighbors with respect
No,
to
I
drainage
mean-
and stuff. And there's an open ditch on the lake road side that they should have immediate access to,
Correct.
both parcels, correct?
And we would have to be, as part of our standard, as development standard, we would have to look at whatever goes in there, that it does have the proper drainage.
Right.
And again, we, in a couple of items down, but we allude to it, there is a Parks Master Plan that shows the relocation of the playground that is there now, where else it will go into Timber Creek. For years, this property sat, vacant and unused. And then we had, the Parks Board had a location selected, which was just a little bit further down on this portion of the street. But the residents at the time just did not like that location for putting the playground. And so we punted and put it there. And it just really has never been a great spot for a playground. So when we went back and looked at the master plan and got the community involvement, they selected another site, but still in that subdivision, but just on the other side. And I think it'll wind up being a much better site. But that's not tied to this sale. There are two different projects, but it just kind of has kicked off this idea of selling this land.
So, but no clarification, the money that would be derived from the sale would go to the parks land. Would be
In
used
this
for
area.
park purposes
Yes,
only.
legally, the sale, any proceeds have to be retained and used in the park system. And usually we have like a distance requirement that we do. And so talking to Sherry, her guidance would be, it'd have to be used in this subdivision or this area. It probably wouldn't go any further out than Dunbar Park.
What I've put in the election resolution coming up is that the money will be used for a park in that area, a larger park. And Milford, if you scroll down, the plan is, it's 250 yards the way I measured it on Google Earth, but from the other property between Rose Road and Timber Creek Drive. Nope, what are you doing? Oh, you were showing where it actually is located. So it's really close, you can see it's really close, and that's the plan.
It's
to-
from here
Yes,
to here.
No,
yes, that
Yeah,
whole
right
thing,
there.
no,
yes,
no.
No, I'm sorry. No, these are the lots,
Those are the lots.
and this is the part,
No.
the new part.
Well, I can't
Yeah,
tell.
that's Timber Creek Drive right there.
It's the whole.
That's
that whole
Rosewood.
thing.
It's right here. This little, that's Mark Monocle's old house. It's this blank of land
That
right here.
blank of land. But since you have all the wooded area.
Yeah, if we're doing a nature trail or something through there.
trail's gonna go through.
Right,
Yeah.
and then,
But that's where the money could be spent.
yeah.
Correct.
All right.
That is Timber
In
Creek
that
Park,
area.
and there's nothing there but grass.
So three questions then. The city currently maintains that property, correct? We
Which
maintain
one?
that park, the current park.
Yes.
If
I
we
presume.
choose not to sell it, not to put it on the ballot, then the city would remove the playground and I assume continue to maintain it?
I think the playground is already gone. I think there's no equipment there
There,
anymore.
there is equipment. It's
Some-
just
There's equipment.
not utilized very
And then
heavily.
so is there funding already in place for the new park if that doesn't get sold? Or is this contingent, is the new park contingent on the sale of this property?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So what is funded for the new playground is, well, I say it's funded. We haven't gone out for debt issuance out of the half cent. But that's where we were going this spring for $3.5 million to fund playground equipment and restroom repairs throughout the city, and this is one. So what is out of that funding issue is the playground here, and also a trail connection between Timber Creek and
That was the moon,
and
rocks or
Strawberry.
something, right?
It's right here.
What is not funded is there is a plan to put in a trail through here, and we're looking at what we can do for a grant submittal through Texas Parks and Wildlife, or if we can't, sell of that. But that's, no, the sale of the parkland, or the playground is not dependent on the sale of the parkland.
Milford, can you go back to the first? Okay, this road, what is that road there?
That's Lake.
Lake.
That's Lake Road, and this is Timber Creek?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right back here, what is that?
A house.
Home.
No,
That's a-
no, that's not a house there. Right
I think it's a driveway. There is a house. That next lot over is a house. The one with the,
Is that a ditch there?
uh,
Behind there is a lift station that services
Driveway if you
part
do
of
that.
the
Yeah.
subdivision.
I guess right
Right
here. I guess that's a driveway to a house then.
Yeah.
At their house
Okay,
right there.
okay, got you.
The lift station is further to the right.
Further to the
so-
And we have talked to all the residents here in this area. Have we sent them notification?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Have we gotten any feedback from,
No, we have not notified any of the residents of selling the property.
That's what the public hearing's for, isn't it?
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to come up here, ma'am, and just state your name. Oh, it's true.
public hearing, you're the
I
public.
didn't recognize you.
Hello, Josie LaChance at 201 Violet Lane. I just wanted to know if the verbiage for the ballot, if this did get passed and made it to the ballot, has the verbiage already been established, or is that something that would be worked through later?
It's on one of the resolutions for this evening, and what I've written, which of course can be changed, is that shall the city of Lake Jackson sell land located at blah, 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 so that the proceeds may be used to fund a larger park in the same area.
Okay, is it possible, because I think Sal probably touched on it, the deed restrictions probably do say what it can be used for as far as zoning. I'm not sure, I haven't looked at it, but if it is residential, and the deed restrictions say that, could that be put on the ballot where it says for residential use? And so that there's no guessing on if it's gonna be used for commercial or gas station or whatever, if it could be, can that be included on the ballot? If that's what the deed restrictions say?
That's gonna be
But-
a legal question because we're restricted on what the language can be.
Right, so, well, it's, for this, I mean, it isn't very strict. If you all wanna put, just remember whatever you put on the ballot language, it's like a contract with the voters.
Right.
You don't change it once it's on the ballot, so if y'all wanna put me to add that, shall the city of Lake Jackson sell parkland?
And that's only if the deeds really do say that. But me, if I haven't read anything or done any research and I went to vote and I live there, I might be concerned without knowing that it would be for sure. We assume that it would be used for commercial, for residential,
Residential.
but can we clarify that? would be my
If,
question.
if you were gonna go that direction, I would put residential use on that. I wouldn't clarify if it's R1 or estate, because someone could put a bid on it and want
Request
to
a
make
change.
it.
Yeah, and also, I don't
They may
think,
want to make it an estate lot and offer you a king's ransom.
Somebody might want to put a golf course there.
I think,
kidding.
why are we
Just
gonna
kidding.
be sensitive? I just think that, and I like the word residential, because if I haven't done my research and I go to vote and it's really quickly, I might be concerned that it could be sold for a gas station or something like that. So I think just the broad word of residential, so that me who hasn't looked that far into it knows exactly what I'm voting on.
Okay.
Anyway,
Fair enough.
thank you.
Thanks.
One other question. So what is the lot, sizes in that area?
An R1 by zone, it allows you to have 150 by 100 as a minimum.
Okay, so-
the top one is an acre, and the bottom one, the smaller one, is about half an acre.
But
Oh.
what
Yeah,
are
but
the-
the-
what
but
are
the
the normal
other
lot
lots,
sizes
the-
of the
the-
home, the residential
The
areas
home,
in that
yeah,
area?
that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. It's an R1 top zone that allows 150 by 100
Okay.
as the minimum size.
Is that would you say that's a half acre or 3/4 of an
It's
acre?
about half an acre.
The bottom one,
The bottom one is what, a half acre? So that's good for one
That's like
lot,
one
and
lot.
then the other two,
Possibly,
Potentially.
possibly two in the
so
other.
would we try to sell it as one?
That's up to us tonight.
That's what I'm saying, but we
That I
like,
really don't know.
that's what I'm saying. It's up to us to decide if it's gonna be one or two.
Yeah, staff was looking at, that would be, we just thought that was a little premature, to do that. Once it was approved, then, we would let council decide how you wanted to.
The other thing that we could
To
do
break
is
it up.
that if it was approved, when we went to go get, estimates on the value, is we could work, whoever we're working with to get the estimates, we could get the recommendations on if it would be a greater value of selling them in lot sizes or just selling them as
As
is.
is. The more beneficial to us.
Maybe perhaps we can just specify residential use only, and that would satisfy a lot of people's concern.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, R1, pretty much, I mean, it would come in as R1, like most raw land. And this is already, the rest of it is R1. I mean, that's the most stringent one that we have. If they wanted anything smaller, they would have to come to council for rezoning.
So this is anywhere from 1 to 3 houses, potentially, could go here,
Yes.
with current zoning.
I like your idea, get the bid on it first.
Any other questions from our audience, since it is a public hearing?
Is there a survey on that? Josie LaChance again. Is there a survey already on that, or can you do that pre-work before you would, to kind of look at it and decide how you would want to do that? Yeah. Just kidding.
We have a walking survey.
There is a survey. It's a platted subdivision, and therefore those two lots are actually platted.
Okay.
They just never sold and we took them and made a park out of it.
Well, it was plotted by the developers.
It was platted by the developer as Sparks, but it's allotted by itself.
Okay.
It's already split up as two lots.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions on this? All right, I'll close the public hearing at, what time is it?
6:53.
6:53. And open it back up to regular agenda, and we have item 2 is resolution finding finding that 2 tracts of parkland located at Lake Road should be sold, and that the proceeds should be used to develop a larger park in the same area.
Okay.
Resolution.
So I'll read the resolution. This is a resolution finding that 2 tracts of parkland located on Lake Road should be sold, and the proceeds should be used to develop a larger park in the same area.
Take a motion on the resolution.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Open for discussion. Any other discussion?
So I have a question. We making a statement to develop a larger park. Is that statement true, or?
Yes.
Because we don't know what we're talking about. We didn't know exactly what size that was going to be. So it's definitely going to be larger.
Well,
Well, Modesto said
It's
that would
already
go
master
towards the
planned.
nature
Okay.
trail, and that is a much larger park, it's like 10 acres or something. And then if
Okay.
it goes to Dunbar, that's a huge park.
Just want to make sure, we're clear, you know,
Yeah.
this is,
So-
like I said, going to voters, so.
I do think maybe there should be a discussion on kind of the order of events. So if we're talking about not getting it appraised until after it's gone to the voters, I mean, that kind of is counterintuitive to if we decide to make that into 2 lots or 1 lot, what would be most beneficial? We probably need that appraisal beforehand.
No,
No?
No, they're
no.
just,
Then have,
All we're getting is approval from the citizens to sell it or not to sell it.
okay, so we don't have to decide right now whether that's sold, how that's sold.
And also, we don't, even if we go through the process and the voters approve the sale of the property, and we go over there and we say that our, you know, our estimates or appraisal is X dollars, and we set that as minimum, we don't have, and then people put in their bids, we don't have to accept any of those bids.
Okay.
We can choose to not sell it or not.
like our-
Same thing as just like the triangle,
Okay,
Yeah.
because we never met the minimum on the
Triangle
triangle
there,
either, so.
okay.
So it's still, again, all this is for is go to the voters and
Voters
say
for
that
sale.
we can, go through the process of trying to sell it.
Mayor, I did have a question for
Sure.
Sherry. Ms. Russell, is there the request, or the idea of changing for residential use, is there somewhere in the resolution where you would recommend to make that change?
it's not this resolution, it's the next one.
Okay,
This is just sending it to the voters. There's no specific wording on this. This is basically y'all finding there really isn't any feasible and prudent alternative to selling this land because it's on a really dangerous road. And nobody wants to have a park with their children on that road. And it includes all reasonable planning to minimize harm to the land as a park. We're not gonna use it as a park anymore, but we're using the money so that these same children can have a safe place to play.
Good.
That's
Very
all
good,
that
very
this one
good.
is.
Any other questions, council,
Yes, sir.
audience? All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, this is just approving to take it to the voters.
And yes, and the next resolution.
Next one is the
you guys
resolution,
Look at all my language.
yeah,
Yes.
with all that language. So it's a resolution ordering that, election be held on, for the purpose of electing, wrong one, yeah, that's the correct one. Electing the mayor and 2 council members and submitting proposed amendments to the home rule charter and to sell the parkland to the voters. Sell of parkland. So you have a resolution with all that in it.
I do. This is a resolution ordering an election to be held in the city of Lake Jackson on Saturday, May 7th, 2022, for the purpose of electing the mayor and 2 council members for the city of Lake Jackson, and to submit proposed amendments to the city of Lake Jackson Home Rule Charter and sale of park property to the voters.
Okay, take a motion on that.
Move for approval?
Second?
Have a motion and a second discussion.
This is where you would tell me to change my language. Section 4 is the parkland proposition. And you all have decided you want to add the residential part of
Right.
it?
Yes.
Correct.
So I can add, as my senior English teacher would say, to make this a compound complex sentence. And, add
Okay.
at the end, and restrict the sold property to be used for residential purposes only.
So I change my motion to include that?
Whatever I just said.
Yes.
Second, whatever he and she just said.
No, you're not gonna change, you'll amend, but let me just ask the question is that you're gonna eventually come back to us with ballot language, correct?
This is ballot
This is the
language.
ballot language, okay. All right.
Ms. Russell, what did you, how did you put that at the end of the sentence?
At the end of the sentence, I would put, and restrict the sold property to residential uses only.
Now, you can amend your motion to include that.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The second by
She
Mr.
seconded.
Ron.
And then there's more, I don't know if y'all have read the questions I came up with the charter, which is Exhibit B, those are their actual questions that, I don't think this year that it was as confusing as other years. But Exhibit B will be how all the propositions are worded on the ballot.
Okay. Let me back up, and since we have an amendment to the motion, let me take the vote on that, to amend the amended motion. Okay, so all in favor of amending the motion to include adding restriction of residential?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I just want to get that out of the way so we can, okay. And then now, any other discussion on the resolution that is there? And Ms. Russell said is that there is the component of the charter amendments, which we've discussed in the past. So as I can recall, it's the only thing that we added to what the charter review group worked out is just definition of the how a mayor would be selected, and we discussed that in previous council member meetings and approved that, so that's what the wording is here.
Well, no, wait, what I got out of that was, okay, hold on. So when I went back and looked at my notes and looked at all the definitions of everything, the council, when you say council, it already includes the mayor. And so there's the council, that's everyone plus the mayor, and then there are council members as opposed to the mayor. So I went back and studied it, and I didn't add that proposition, but if you want me to, I can add that proposition. It would be, to amend, I don't even know, I didn't bring my charter to, anyway, I could add one, and it would sound so good once I did that. And, hold on, let me pull up the charter. Because when I went through all of my notes, what I thought was, everything was okay, but apparently not.
It was my understanding that we were not, most of these were just clerical type of changes, and we were not going to
For the most
include-
part,
Yeah,
right?
we're not going to include those, so.
Do what again?
I thought, my understanding was most of those recommendations from the Charter Commission were minor in nature. We were not planning on doing anything with them. That was my understanding.
Right, the big one was clarification of how
Right.
that position will be filled. Most of it was councilman versus council member versus councilwoman.
Okay, so you all told me what you remember with the mayoral discussion. I looked at everything and I read the minutes, and didn't end up being a change in the minutes or in my notes. Do y'all remember that differently? I mean, we had a big discussion on it.
I don't think we ever finalized what that
How
was
it-
going to be. I was surprised when that fell off the agenda items down the road, and
Okay, I think we just need to, we're gonna have to come back. This is a mess.
Okay,
We need to come back. Because we did have the discussion, you asked us for input on, because what the charter review group came back on was, that they said that there was a question of how the mayor position would be replaced if it became necessary. And you asked for input from council. I was the only one that gave you a written input. We reviewed that at another council meeting, and we said that sounded good. And so that's where we left it, that was going to be added in as far as a charter amendment.
okay, my notes in the minutes did not reflect that. And like I said, I went through and looked at the way things are defined. And, so if we want to bring this back, Sally, we'll have to tell the county that we can't do this until next meeting.
We won't meet again until the 22nd.
What is it?
Deadline is the 18th. So,
The deadline is the 18th. So you would have to have a special meeting.
Schedule it.
Do you,
I can check, because we might have a few extra days, possibly, but that would, I know the cutoff would definitely be the 25th.
Okay.
But I can,
why don't you check? And then, when we have the charter words in front of us, I can better explain what I was thinking, because I can see it here, but, certainly it would be better if everybody had the charter in front of them.
Can I ask this question? Is there agreement on all of the other items that are in the resolution for the
Yes.
charter amendments?
For me, yes.
Yeah,
I think so too.
yeah.
Let's see.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
what was your understanding that we finally decided on? 'Cause I may be mistaking these, so I don't want to hold up the process because of my question,
No,
so.
if it needs to be, this needs to be in front of council, and the words need to be in front of council, so you all can make one final decision that I understand. And I'll make better notes, and we'll submit that. We can submit all of this, and then I can do a separate resolution just for that one charter amendment to get to the county.
Can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make me feel a lot easier, and then you're having just that one issue to add.
Yes, we've done multiple before, and Sally, just tell them there's one more coming, but this is a lot of the language that we need.
That'll work.
Mary, are you okay with that?
Yes, we can proceed. So we have a motion and a second. Okay, we did amended the resolution, the motion, and so we have a motion and a second still on the table to move forward with this as presented, the resolution as presented, with that modification for residential, for item C. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, you have item 4. Robin, you're going to talk to us about, just give us an overview of the master plan for the Timber Creek Park and Trail System.
Yes, I kind of wanted to give a little update, and I'm also going to post this on Facebook and our website, just to kind of let people know the plans that we have for a lot of the upcoming projects. But since this one is one that's been brought up on the Timber Creek, you know, as we said, where the lots are now, that playground equipment is going to be removed, and the plan is to move it to a new location. You know, as they've said, it's a little unsafe. The road's pretty busy, and I've been over there a couple times myself, and even in the middle of the day, kids are in school, it's a pretty busy area. So, so again, we're going to move that to some of the other parkland that goes through. And one of the things that goes with the master plan is we've looked for something more nature-themed playgrounds. This is not what we're going to pick. Right now, I'm still kind of looking through things. But we want something that really kind of goes with that subdivision, you know, that kind of stays with the theme of that. All of the playgrounds have, we have the rubber surfacing pads, the ramps for easy access, and then there's also sidewalks. You know, if you've noticed, most of our playgrounds now, you can't, if you have a stroller or anything like that, you just can't get to them. So every one of them will have that great pathway that you can get to them. And again, in the one area that it's going to be, I think it shows on the next slide, it kind of goes through, well, maybe not. But this is going to be on the Timber Creek side. That's the trail. Sorry, I kind of had these out of order. On the last one, it shows, I thought it showed where the new site was going to be, but it did show you kind of on the other thing. Where the yellow dot is, that's basically kind of where the new playground will be. It's such a huge lot there, though, too. It's not going to be, you know, it won't be so close to other homes and things like that. So there's a great area that we can even put it where it's a nice place to be for all of the kids and stuff, too. So, we are.
It's a nice elevated area, too.
Yes, it doesn't hold the water as much. It's a really great little area, too. And it's kind of
It's
around.
already cleared.
Yes.
Do you have the
already.
dimensions of it?
I want to say, I
Andy?
don't know. I don't have that on that area.
Pretty good
there.
size.
It's big. It's bigger, from me looking at it, it's a lot bigger because it goes deeper into where the grass area, or, you know, the nature area
I mean,
is, too.
visually, it almost looks like it's two lots
Yeah,
of Timber Creek.
it's bigger than the, than the other area.
Good size.
It's a good sized
I would
lot,
think it's-
yes.
I would
So
think it's
there's
close to 2
plenty of room in the back
2
and
acres.
stuff too.
Yeah.
And it's also
You
kind of
okay?
nice too, is it around that little bit of a curve where it's still visual, but you're still slowing down a little more. So when you're in that neighborhood, I think, traffic is going to be a little slower. So it is safer where the kids are and stuff. There's not parking areas, so that keeps it as a neighborhood park, things like that. So it's going to be a real nice thing to add to it. We also like to add some kind of different equipment when we're looking at the playground equipment for, that's all inclusive, that, there's always some element that we add in there that, anyone can use. Like I said, there's a lot of park area in this whole thing. Again, that wooded area that's right there, that's also considered park area. Right now, we're not doing anything with that, but as Modesto had said, I have been working with another gentleman who writes grants, has done the grants before with Texas Parks and Wildlife, to do a nature trail through there, which with the keeping of the theme with the nature area, we're not clearing anything. We're going to try, I doubt there would be any removals of trees or anything, maybe some small things like that to get the trail to go through there. I haven't walked it yet because it's been pretty muddy and nasty, and I haven't got a chance to do that. Marty, the gentleman that I've been talking with, he lives right by there too. He has kind of walked through there, and there's some different areas. So the grant actually won't be submitted until next year, February of 2023. We weren't able to get it this year because we still need to get a list of, all of what we're going to need for that. We're looking to do a concrete. I would prefer to do it as a concrete with the curbs and stuff on there. That's something easier to maintain. When you start, because of the way the land is, if you do the gravel or anything like that, I think things could wash away. We're also going to have to put some little, little bridges is what I want to call them. They called them something else because some of the areas are a little bit lower, so we want to make sure that we, have something where it doesn't get covered in water. You don't want slick spots either. I don't want something where things kind of wash in there and it makes it a safety hazard and stuff. But that'll lead all the way into that park area, so that'll give people a nice area to go through. And then also, there's, I'm sure, bird watchers, anything like that, to keep with that natural element of the land.
This is ditch, right?
That's a ditch, yes, yeah.
Concrete ditch?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on one of those, if you go back, Milton, it'll show you kind of the little blue line there, and that'll show you kind of how the trail will go through, of how we're walking it and stuff. So that's not exactly how it'll go. It'll just, we'll have to go through and kind of pinpoint it. And there was a lot of spiders. I started to go through there one day, and yeah, couldn't do that. Yeah, those big banana spiders that are always out in those areas. So, no.
Robin, on the actual playground equipment, I know we've talked about this before, but it will be handicapped accessible. We'll have equipment like
Yes.
we do at Shy Pond, that sort of thing.
Yes, we always try to add some piece to that. You don't want to do it all inclusive, but you also like different things. But also, some of the things when you add to playgrounds is also like sensory things, because even if it's not, say somebody has in a wheelchair or something, but kids, autism and different stuff like that. So when you add those items, it really, it's great for everyone to play. And try to make it, and again, if the land does sell, those are areas where we can even add on to maybe even have it for all, different ages, from smaller to larger, instead of just doing it, for the bigger kids or however. So, that's a kind of a nice, because that's a big neighborhood, and I think there's lots of kids and lots of age groups, so it's a pretty diverse thing. And then I think even too, the older kids would even like, going through some of the trails, because it's kind of nice, and, when you walk through and stuff.
Yeah, the older kids, 65 and above.
Yes, yes. Well, we all think. But, just me going through there, too, there's so many people. Every time I've been through there, there's always somebody walking, running, or something in that area. And I think that's going to add a nice thing to kind of get them off the road and stuff. They'll like that to add to their path.
Yeah, we do have a lot of people that actually drive into the area and the park and use the area to run and walk, because it's pretty safe.
Yeah, and it gives you a good loop. I'm sure there's probably, you can map it out and give you your mile or two or whatever,
It's 1.1 miles around.
Oh, wow. Well,
Is there, speaking of people driving in, is there any parking as part of that design?
there is not, and that's not something we had planned to do. It's just something we could look into.
I would be hesitant of that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a neighborhood park.
It was a neighborhood
Right.
park,
Right.
and that was, the feedback that we got from the neighborhood when we put in the first one, that was one of the big reasons why it got relocated, because they just didn't want any parking in the area, so. We could discuss it, but we'd have to ask the Parks Board to get the neighborhood input on that.
Yeah.
The other reason why the park wasn't put in the first original place was because it was gonna be on the north end of where that blue line is at, and you would have had to clear cut trees, and we didn't wanna cut any trees, in a park to put in a park.
Yeah,
And so that's why the other park space was decided
yeah.
in the past.
And I kind of feel the same. I think when you have a neighborhood park, you want to, there's plenty of parks, you know, and out that, are open for people.
And Dunbar's
to-
right there. You want to drive to the
Right.
park, go to Dunbar.
Control who goes into.
And again, even with as large as that neighborhood is, I mean, it's going to get usage. I can imagine just from
I think the other thing that
those that
will-
live there.
That will relieve pressure on any one park is that we're improving we're improving 8 to 10 playgrounds.
Right.
All across the city. So there'll be, as nice a playground as this one in other neighborhoods
neighborhood, yeah.
also. So you won't have to travel across the city to go to the new playground.
So,
If you had your way, what would your vision of a park cost?
if I had it my way, oh, yeah, I could spend a lot. You could get up there. I think that would be really big. I think it would, doing something that size would take up so much of that lot too. And you don't want to start bringing the equipment where it's going to be encroaching so close to neighbors and, people's yards and things like that too. But it's hard to say playground equipment, what the cost of it is. So, up to $250,000, with the pathways and things like that. It is, that was something that we'll look to budget. Again, the reason we haven't looked at anything right now, when I have spoke to some of the playground people, it's the supply and demand right now because of things. It's just, I don't even want to price anything because what I would price right now is not what we were going to get later on.
Right.
What we would got last year. So, we want the best bang for our buck and
Robin,
stuff too.
how much was what was the cost of the playground at McLean Park?
Think that was about 250, yes, with everything. I want to say yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's a small.
No, that's a small.
Very small, yeah.
Yeah, the
And it-
one
yeah.
good thing about this expenditure that she's finding out early with, I can't remember the gentleman's last name, Marty, that you connected us with.
Yeah,
Whatever we spend here for our grant submittal can count as our matching share.
yes, that's what we're hoping. So that will help us when we go in for that grant too. So with the few things that we've wanted to add into this trail, again, with the, it's not just pouring a concrete thing. It's putting in the berms and different stuff like that. It's going to cost a little bit more. So we're hoping that, because it's a 80-20 matching grant for that. So the next thing that we're looking at in this subdivision, and I'm sorry I got out of order on these, was the Glow Trail, which I know we had talked about too. And that's the connecting of between, is it Strawberry Lane and Timber Creek Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's already right now considered like a city easement that people already are walking through. And, just looking at it, I could see that there were certain things like this. And by adding this, it'll be a concrete path that's going to go through there. And it's going to include all of the glow rocks and stuff. And the cool thing about the glow rocks is you can make them as subtle or as bright as you want them to be. And it's just something that nobody around here has. And I don't know that I haven't seen any local parks in this area, or anyone hasn't. So I think it's a really cool thing that you can add into. That gives us just a little bit of light, but not something that's going to be like a street light that's blaring in your, in your living room or anything like
Illuminates
that.
the trail.
It illuminates the
That's
trail,
what-
yeah. So if you see on the bottom picture here how it's all glowed, and you
Yeah.
can, if
That's
we really,
the purpose
yeah,
of it.
yeah, get a real creative. And then the daylight, you don't even see it. They hardly show. So
So there's very minimal upkeep on that?
there's no upkeep on it. There's no electricity required. It's like a glow stick. The UV lights, they can last up to 20 years. So it's not something that, by that time, who knows what you may want to change it.
Are they recharged by the sun?
Yes, and they'll last up to 8+ hours. So it just depends on the day too.
How sunny
So,
it is.
yeah.
Well, bad days, people aren't gonna be out there.
Right. So in the evenings, the
people
glow will,
won't.
last for up to
It'd be
8
my
hours.
luck, I'd be out there walking, it all go
And it'll
black.
all go away. You'll see it fading down.
Then the
so-
spiders can get you.
Yeah, then the spiders will get you, yes. So,
That's something that's still yet hasn't been firmed up, but my suggestion would be is that if we did anything like that, that I would go as minimal as possible.
And I agree. I don't want it to be too bright, and that's something I was looking at, the technical stuff, and, they go into a lot of things that you can see how many glow rocks and stuff you want to do. But also, the way the path goes is you don't want to start it like right at the beginning either, because to say if there's a street light there, the lights are going to make it to where they're not going to be as visible. So there's no sense in adding rocks and paying for that. So you would go more into the middle of the trail, so
Where they're
you won't
needed.
see, where it wouldn't really affect any of the homeowners that are right there.
What is the cost compared to some of the trails we already have with the glow trail? The glow path?
We don't have any like this, so.
Comparison to the cost.
I think I saw someplace where it was, I think, Jeremy said that it could increase the cost of the trail by $4,000.
Something like, yeah, it wasn't that much to increase, to put it in there, depending on how many rocks you put into it, so. But I think, to me, I think it's also something that kind of adds to that house, that function, after looking at them, I was like, oh, this is cool, I could put this in my backyard. So it's something that's a really nice, aesthetic-wise, it's gonna look nicer than just, the mud trail that's going through there. And it's easy to maintain. It's not, by putting the concrete curbs and stuff, it's not something hard that the parks people couldn't take care of, so.
Are those, glow rock?
Sorry, you're gonna have to come up
Oh, yeah.
and introduce yourself, sorry.
Yeah, Corey LaChance, 201 Violet. Those glow rocks, they're, like set in concrete, or are they free?
It's dusted on there.
Yeah, you can do a dust, or you can actually do the rock, and it'll go into it's
The
in the
little-
concrete.
little
And you put it
kid
in the
always
fresh
feeling
concrete
it.
when you pour it.
So it's not like a bunch
Josie
of.
LaChance, 201 Violet again. So I've been in a meeting or two where there's sales companies that will tell you it's maintenance free, you won't have to do anything for 20 years. And then a few years later, we come back and oops, they told us, they misled us, and now we have to pay for this. And so I would like to just make very sure and do our research that we will have zero maintenance on this for 20 years, because it would be unfortunate to have to come back in 5 years and maintenance it when we didn't expect to, because
What
the
kind of
company.
maintenance have they been,
Do what?
what kind of maintenance has been coming up?
Well, so the way we're advertising it, I'd have to pull it back.
Okay.
I just, in other meetings where we talk about, the companies are really good at selling you the product and saying things like it's maintenance free, but I've never met a product that's maintenance free for 20 years. So I would just want to be confident that there is no maintenance cost going to be associated with it for 20 years before we really bought that. Or we would just budget for the maintenance, whichever it is. I want to make sure we're not being sold on that product.
Yeah, this concrete pathway is gonna be in the swampy, not swampy, but moist. We all know what concrete does when it's wet, mildews and, we've all pressure washed our driveways before. So, I like the idea, but,
Do-
don't be sold.
yeah.
To answer any kind of maintenance, what I would think is that we would, if we decide to go down this road, and say 10 years down the road, it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, it's still it's still a sidewalk, it's just it won't glow anymore.
Right.
We're not gonna go in there and pick up the flakes or
Right.
anything like that. We're not
Yeah.
gonna- There is nothing. It's-
And I mean, things can happen too. There could be if something gets damaged, there's not a lot sometimes you can do with that. But, this is something that's been used in major cities. There's one, the longest one is, I think they call it longest trail in Colorado, and they have it, and it's becoming a very popular thing. They used it on, next to oceans, with salt water and things like that. So I think, but I agree, it's something that we do look into, because you don't want to spend $4,000 and then it lasts for 2 weeks
Well, when you
either.
talk to them, get some references.
Exactly, and Jeremy has
All
looked
the
into
people that
them.
have been using them, see how they're.
And we've looked into that too.
Let's take a trip to
Colorado.
Oh, that's fine too. I'd be more than happy. Yeah, we can do that. So, but again, there's nice things coming for the subdivision to kind of help some of those things. I think it's going to be a great thing, and we'll try to get a lot of this posted, like I said, so the public can see what's going on.
Again, we're just talking about the changes that we're, for this subdivision, like Modesto said, we have a large, master plan that's, gonna be, you said 3 million?
3.5?
3.5.
3.5,
million
yes.
that will go into the park system over the next year,
It'll probably take 2 or 3 years by the time we go out for bid.
2 to 3 years, that will be upgrading, a large number, up to as many as 8 of our parks and stuff. So it's a major investment across the city.
Right.
It's not just this area, this is is
Yes.
just one example of where we're going
Yeah.
to do that.
And I'll start getting some of those posted because we've already looked into things like some of the other things that we're making. So I want to make sure that people know so they can see the great things that, the city is doing to upgrade our parks and stuff. So,
Anything
Okay.
else on this?
no, anything for me?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 5, discuss setback requirements for residential property by parkland and drainage ways. Modesto is gonna talk about this, I can talk about it too, because the request came to me about this, so.
Yep, the subject came about as we had a resident who wanted to build a workshop, and it exceeded the accessory building structure size that we have. It's around 200 square feet. And so an accessory structure of 200 square feet or a sum of that is allowed to be built, outside of the the building area into the setback. Once you get bigger than 200 square feet, it has to be in the buildable area. And so, if you'll see in different subdivisions, our zoning codes, this one is R2, I'll give you an example. The setbacks, are, I think, gosh, I don't have my glasses on, I think it's 15 feet in the back, 25 in the
15.
front. And it's 15 on total for both sides. Minimum is 5, so it can be 5 and 10, or 7.5 and 7.5 in our city. So this is R2. So that gray spot shows you what you can build in. Now, again, 200 square feet, you can be in that black area, or but once you exceed that, you've got to be in the gray area. And so usually that's the home footprint. So that that regulation pushed the gentleman into this buildable area. The question that's come up, and I think it was raised to the mayor, this property backs parkland. And so the question is a 15-foot setback in the backyard needed when a piece of property backs parkland or drainage, way? It's a reasonable, question to ask, council, but that's a community standard that, council needs to discuss. If you are open to looking at that possibility, the process is not fast. It's a change to the zoning code like we did for tattoo parlors. You would have to have public hearing requirement for council and a public hearing requirement for also the planning commission. In addition, I would recommend, since you're also discussing parkland, I would say that at some point in time, the planning commission or the council would need to involve the parks board and get their opinion on it. But again, it would be a change to zoning. You're not allowed to grant a variance to any one citizen. And so that's where this process, would begin. It would begin with you and the direction.
So for some reason, for this example, in Timber Creek, we decided to sell the parkland. So if we did that, and down the road, if some council decided they're gonna move the park someplace else, or something happens, then this will cause a problem.
Well, it could.
Yeah.
First of all, if you did away with with this property here, you have the build line of 15 feet, but you also have an 8-foot easement. So they still wouldn't be building up against the property line. They'd still have to build outside of the 8-foot easement along with this piece of property. The other piece of it is right now, like Modesto said, if it's below 200 square feet, you can build up to the 8-foot easement. When we changed this was back several years ago, when we started looking at buildings and backyards and stuff, and that's when we came back with, because at that time we had restrictions of 200 square feet, and so there was requests to be able to build larger, and that's when we came back with these setbacks that we did. But the idea of it again was I think, just like with any other ordinance that we do, is that we look at what we know at the time, and we do, a lot of it is broad brush, and we say, okay, across the city, this is what the boundaries that we put in place. Nowhere in that conversation did we have any conversation about if we were up against a parkland or a large drainage area where nobody will ever build because there's a drainage ditch behind there. And so that's why I would suggest that we brought it back to council to see if there was a desire to look at it and see if it was appropriate to make modifications to where, again, if you're up against a parkland or a large drainage area, that you could go back to within the 15 feet and go back to the 8-foot easement that we have on the back of properties. And as
So-
far as your question about parklands is that if you decide to go sell the parkland, if we went forward with this, for example, and you decide to go build and sell the parkland, you could in that property, you could plot it out to where it would have a larger build line in the back, so that it wouldn't be an issue, because that us doing this would not be an issue for the sale of new property and a new building.
So this particular citizen, they're wanting to build back this direction on their property?
Yeah, in that dark area in the back, they would like to build into a portion of it.
I'll be
And
more
this-
than happy to answer that.
And this 15-foot right here is his property, and then there's another 8-foot easement back here.
No.
Is that correct?
The 8-foot easement is inside that. The 8-foot easement, now, not all property has an easement in it, but the 8-foot easement is sacrosanct. I mean, that needs to be maintained. And so,
That's
really,
utility easement, right?
it's a drainage easement in there. And so really the request is to get closer into that, as close as the 8-foot easement in there. So it's 15, 8 of it is easement. So
So
the
7 of
absolute
it
closest
is-
you could get is 7. You're probably looking at, if you were probably looking at a change, you're probably saying, could it be 10 feet versus 15 feet?
So that's why it would make a difference whether it was 200 square foot versus 360.
The 200 square foot building can be put in that area, except for the easement. It can't, nothing can go in nothing is
Within that
supposed
8 foot.
to go in the easement.
Nothing's
Now,
supposed to, but you can do.
that
side
happens
view
all
and
across
it's-
the town, but you're supposed to stay away from the easement. But if there was no easement in there, a 200 square foot building could be put in that area. Yeah, what's triggered this is that it's bigger than 200 square feet.
Mr. Elder, if you want to come up here and talk.
And I just want to make sure I'm reading the ordinance correctly. And Sherry, like, I can put all 200 square foot in this black, sort of as far back as I want it.
As long as it's not on the, no.
As long as
Well,
there's not an
I know,
easement,
yeah, I know,
yes.
as long as there's not an easement.
That's your setback. You can't put anything in your setback except your fence.
Right.
And I
8
think
feet of
now
that
we
15
put
feet.
And if
swimming
it's,
pools
but
in
if it's less than 200 square feet, is it,
Correct,
It
so
says
we
it's a-
allow accessory structures in the setback.
So
Yes, but there's still a margin that you can read here. 5-foot margin from the property lines.
okay. Well, and then, but, so if it's 201 square foot, it can't go anywhere in the black.
In the black, that is correct.
But if it's 200 square foot, it can go all the way in the black as far back as they want it to go.
No.
8 feet still.
I know, I get that, but I'm saying as far back as they want it to
they
go.
could use up their whole 7 foot.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Because my initial thought was, well, if you get 200 square feet, then just put 200 square foot in the black and then put 160 square foot in the gray and overlap it, but that won't work
you
because
split
it's
it
the
in half.
total,
Yeah,
If you
the
split the
size of
building
the
in
total
the
size.
size of the structure dictates where it goes.
Okay.
All right. And the reason why I didn't ask you to come up, because we really weren't, I didn't want to get too much into specifics of yours, but.
Right.
The main thing was we wanted to have the discussion of about the setbacks.
Right, well, I mean, the big thing is, it's 7 feet. And I was wanting to put in a building 18 by 20, and I have a corner lot. So therefore, my backyard is really small. I have a big side yard and a decent sized front yard, but a really small backyard. 7 feet, at least as far as my house is concerned, puts the building closer to the house than it does to the back of the property. And, we have the park that's behind us, which is wonderful. That's one of the reasons why we bought the house, was because it has, pocket park. But when they updated the pocket park, they put in equipment, which we love and the kids in the neighborhood love, especially since our neighborhood is turned over and my wife and I are now the old people in the neighborhood. But there's a tower. And if you go up in the tower and it has a slide on it, it's less than 100 feet from my back fence. You look right over into my backyard and right through all my picture windows on the back side of my house. So our privacy just went completely out the door. I don't want to do anything about that. All I wanted to do was be able to put a building there that would serve as a wood shop for me and also give us our privacy back.
So if the city needs an 8-foot easement, I'm assuming for drainage and
Right.
whatnot. So why do we take 15?
That's a build line. It's not an easement, it's a build line.
What size your building you wanting to put in there?
18 by 20.
Yeah, and so we did a quick survey to some surrounding communities, just to see, what the average was. And so you can see from the other communities, except for Freeport, 15 to 20 feet, it seems to be the average. So we're not out of the norm. I would say most likely this is probably what is across Texas, for build lines. What I was really trying to do and ask the city secretary's office to do was to find out, were there exceptions? And we couldn't find any exceptions except for Pearland, and Pearland's is more stringent. It becomes, they go the other, when you back up to or next to a thoroughfare, and it only mentions thoroughfare, I think they add 5 or 10 feet to the
More
requirement for structures. But again, we have not done an extensive survey. We're just trying to do a quick one to see if there was anybody, we were looking for guidance to see if anybody allowed for this. So right now, we haven't found any.
So I guess just my question is say you wanted to build a 200 square foot place, and he wanted to go 3 foot into that 15 foot, he would be allowed to do so.
Correct.
I could go 7 feet into it if I wanted to.
You could go 7 foot into it
Exactly.
if the total square footage was 200 square foot.
Correct,
So
or less.
he's wanting to do 360 square foot, but he's not allowed to use that full 7 foot.
Not allowed to use any of it.
You're not allowed to use any of it. I guess my question is what is the difference? Why?
I think that was put in because the people were putting in huge buildings in their backyard to prevent that. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, I'm just asking the question, so.
I'm just asking, what's the difference between 7 foot of a 200
It's really
foot building?
no difference except you're limiting the size of the building.
Right.
That's it.
But technically, you're not.
But if he had a bigger
I just got to build it
backyard,
closer to my house.
right, and if he had a bigger backyard, he could still put the 360 square foot big building there and just not be in the 15 foot.
The one reason why is that you have a setback back there is because if you did have a neighbor behind him, and he decided to build a 300 square foot building, and you decided to build it 2 stories tall, and you decided to have a window in the back side of that, your neighbor behind you could say, I don't like that because now you can look into my bedroom.
Oh, you mean like a tower in the
Yeah.
park where they get to look into
My
my
neighbor
windows?
just literally was forced by the city to put a window looking directly 3 foot into my backyard.
Anyway, so that's why we have,
before
Right.
they would
that's
close
why
on
we
my
have
house.
the build lines and so forth. But it's
I
just-
understand the
it's
build lines, but I also think there should be exceptions to them.
And if you can
It's
clarify the language to say the exceptions are, when you know there's not gonna be somebody building back there, like it's a parkland or it's a drainage area.
Well, that's
I
the
mean-
question is if there's enough agreement that we want to take this to, we'll have to take this to planners and start the whole process of saying that to change the zoning to allow for a less of a setback in the backyard for properties that back up to city parks or large drainage areas.
I've
Then
went them all.
Make
Do
it
you-
simple.
do you-
Make
do
it
you have a
simple. Why
fence?
couldn't we
Is-
say,
Yes, I have a 6-foot privacy fence.
And then where is it, on the gray or on the black?
It's on the fence.
It would be in the black. It's
in the black.
if
On the
I'm-
other side
We're
of
going
the
to
black.
assume that the fence
It's
is
on
my
this side
property
here.
line.
This
But
is-
your
this
privacy
is
has
his
now been
property line.
compromised because of the playground.
Right. And we don't
Correct.
want the city to take it out. We
Right.
just want to be able to
Okay.
put something in there where we can get our privacy back. I mean, that's a side benefit of,
Sure.
you know,
Well, hopefully
But
So
right
the
here in the
dr-
me
black,
having a
right,
big shop that I can build
hopefully you
planes and
want your
stuff in.
workshop.
but right here in the black, you can build this way, but you can't build back that way, correct?
Well, you can, but only if your total square footage doesn't exceed 200. So I can take
Right.
7 of that 15 foot as long as my building's only 200 square foot.
Correct.
But if I have a 360 square foot,
And you coming back towards the house.
then you can't build in the black at all. That 7 foot is,
Not necessarily can come to the house, you could go all the way across the back too, so.
No, you can put 200 square feet in there.
into the 15 foot
And then the
setback.
rest would need to jet out into your yard.
Call the question.
But it would have to be a different building.
Just a second, we've got to call a question. That means I have to take a vote to end discussion. So the question, call the question is to end a discussion. So all in favor of any discussion and going to a vote, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
So now we go to a vote about whether or not to move this forward.
To move it forward.
Okay.
Which is the thing
I'd like
do.
to make a motion to move this forward to planners to create an exception with specific language.
Second that.
All right, excuse me, it's not going to be an exception. It's going to
Okay.
change the zone.
The ordinance.
Change the zone. So we have a motion to move this forward to planners to start the process of changing the zoning to modify the setback. And did you second?
Yes, sir.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do have one question. The 8-foot drainage easement is in the back half of that 15-foot? There's like drainage underneath the ground?
There is no drainage.
There's not even
there's
easement.
It's just an easement?
There's just an easement, so if we need to go do anything
Okay.
on his property within that 8 foot, we can go in there.
Okay.
and either put a
But that doesn't
ditch in
necessarily mean that there's anything there now? Okay.
Kim, say your name and address.
Speak up a little bit too, please.
Corey LaChance, 201 Violet. Why isn't this not a variance or?
Because we do not, the way our ordinances and our zoning set is we don't know, there's no allowance for a variance.
It's got to be
It's
across
gotta-
the board, not for one particular
Can't be just for one
person.
property.
So there is, and Jerry can pipe in, there is an avenue for a citizen to go to the ZBA and ask this, but there is no hardship, so most likely.
Actually, now that I've listened to Mr. Elder and I have his story, the hardship is, you wanna do this, but your property is some weird thing and it wasn't your own fault. He's got a small backyard, he's got some people smoking and staring at him from a
What kind of kids are
tower
you
with
hanging
a
out with?
slide. I mean, he has a chance. He has a chance that they would say, oh, this is different.
The shape of
and
the
it's
lot
not
or something?
The deal is with
I mean, it's a gamble, but it's a
you
$15.
can go to ZBA, he could take this ZBA zoning board adjustments, okay? And if you go to ZBA, you have to meet specific criteria. One of those is showing a hardship, that this, following the zoning is creating a hardship for you. If they rule against the request, it's dead. Now, if they rule and approve it, then the city can't do anything about it. They are independent. Now, they can go to, we can take the county
We could
court.
appeal
We could
it.
appeal to county court, but we wouldn't. So that is an avenue for him to go, for a property owner to go do, is with his own.
And we could do both, send it to planners and he could try the ZBA.
Or you can try both of them.
Again, my guidance is that if council believes it's the right thing to do,
We
then
take it back to
then
planning.
you do it and have that discussion with the planning commission and traffic commission, and the parks board. Now, the parks board and the planning commission may make a recommendation not to change it, and bring that back, but that's what they're there for. And that's what, our charter
And if
requires.
they bring it back, it can't go back to the ZBA?
It still can. It can always go to ZBA. But it's a more difficult bar to hurdle because you have to prove the hardship.
Bless
Yes.
So,
But they could make recommendations, both committees could make recommendations against changing this, but we could still vote for it.
that is correct.
That's
You
correct.
made a motion to go to the planners, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have a motion on the table. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we'll take this to the planners and start the process.
And as I, mentioned earlier, this is not a
No.
quick process. This could be 2 to 3 months easily.
I would
As-
recommend you go to ZBA
I was like-
in,
ZBA is one and done, right?
yeah.
Much faster, Sherry?
It depends on how long it takes to get a quorum of them to meet.
Right.
And he has to fill out an application and pay.
But there's no two public hearings, yada,
yeah.
yada, la, la, la. Just-
No, we do send notification to the neighbors. And because they have a right to come in and say whether they like it or not.
Well, you only got one neighbor. Where you at? You're on the corner, right?
Yes, sir.
You said we only
Well,
got
no, we send it to the neighborhood.
neighborhood, okay. You said neighbors, okay.
Just out of curiosity, I wanted to ask y'all, you said it's 2 to 3 months. You know, in my particular situation, because I'm planning on having a bunch of concrete poured and everything else, 2 to 3 months, it's gonna cost thousands more dollars for me. Because right now, concrete guys that just wanna stay busy. But 2 to 3 months from now, prices go up, because they're gonna have more work than they want, so they're not gonna
It still
do
has to
jobs.
go through the process
Right.
of
Yeah,
public
there's no
hearings
way.
and all
That's
that.
a ZBA, maybe your best bet.
Yeah, it's probably best.
ZBA.
ZBA.
There's no guarantee, they're just saying.
Right.
But, no, most likely,
I wish I could just do it and pay y'all the fine.
No,
In all
Yeah.
honesty.
we make you move it.
We
don't
make
have
you
to
move
pay
it.
a fine.
You'll have to pour it twice.
Yeah.
Then that's more concrete.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to item 6, authorize city attorney to execute a contract with IAD Architects for design services to renovate the restrooms at the city hall in an amount not to exceed $32,500. Megan.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. So in this current fiscal year, council approved $200,000 for City Hall renovations. This was particularly brought to you and added to the budget because we removed the City Hall expansion and remodel from the propositions that went to the bond. So thank you for approving that $200,000. We're now moving forward with the project. So this first item that is in front of you is for us to have the architect design the initial phase. We have selected IAD Architects. They are local. They're here in Lake Jackson. We've used them numerous times. They actually did the city court facility, and they've done other city facilities for us. They do an amazing job. So they have came over. They met with myself, Sal, David Walton, and so us as staff, we feel comfortable with them moving forward. For their initial design fee, it is approximately $32,500, so that's what we're asking for. You would be allowing Modesto to execute a contract with him. And like I said, that's just for the initial design phase. So in case you're curious, what we are looking at, so the restrooms have not been updated since the building was here. They are not ADA compliant. We do have the one private restroom that is, but the other two are not even close. The women's restroom in particular, the stalls are falling off and it's a little bit more of a mess. I know we have a majority male council. If you want to go in there, I will gladly show you afterwards. The male restroom is also in need of some updates, and like I said, it's just really about getting things accessible for everyone. We have a lot of public come in, and someone not being able to use the restroom would just, that's the only public restrooms we have. So, and it's shared with staff and the public. So we would like them to be nice. We believe we can stay within budget. As you'll see, there is a proposal in your packet. So that is exciting, especially with how construction costs are looking right now. But the idea would be to use the entire space where the current male and women's restrooms are, as well as where you see the front break room is. We have a break room in the back for staff, so that might be something that we sacrifice. Modesto and Sal will lose their coffee maker. And then the private restroom as well. So we are looking at using that entire space right there for this project. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to.
I think it's a long time overdue. We need to get it done.
We agree. And it will take up probably all of the budget. You may ask, what's the cost? It does look like with current construction costs, it will take almost every bit of that 200,000. So unfortunately, we probably won't be able to do any other projects with that money, but.
What kind of timeline are they looking at?
It would probably take a few months. This would be something that we would bid out because of the process or the cost. So design takes a month or two, and then construction would start after that. So hopefully within this fiscal year, which is why we're starting now.
So in the construction, we'll probably have to move to William P., huh?
Yep, we're gonna have to put his sign up somewhere else, I'm not sure. So,
Okay, any other questions on this item? If not, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to approve the motion to make approval for the paying $32,500 to IAD Architects for design services to renovate restrooms at the City Hall.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council? Anything from the audience on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Move on to item 7. Update on new businesses coming to the city, as best as we know today.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Excuse me, it was suggested that I take a moment and talk to council in regards to what has come through our doors and what we know to be coming through. So, just in the past couple of weeks, we have issued permits for the new Taco Bueno, which is going into the Taco Cabana space. Taco Bueno is a popular fast food taco chain that is up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and making a nice push south. And Next Level Urgent Care is moving into the brand new building that was just constructed on the corner of Grapevine and Winding Way, along with a proposed chicken salad chick, if I got that correct, which is a popular restaurant up in the Katy area.
Chicken
Salad chick, yeah. She has come down several times with her food truck, is advertised on Facebook, has gotten pre-orders, come down with her food truck, and completely sells out within a matter of a couple hours. So those are what's going into that new building that has it's on the verge of being finished, right on the corner of Grapevine and Winding Way. Now, we know that there is a surgery center moving into the building that was originally constructed for neighbors, but never occupied by neighbors. They're still in the construction process there. So within the last week, we did receive plans through our office for a Family Dollar going into the old Arlen's space, which is adjacent to a proposed Harbor Freight Tools, which is also proposed for that space, although we have not received plans for that yet. Only we have been talking to the contractors. Dr. Liang is opening a dentist office at 421 This Way. La Madeleine has submitted plans for a restaurant in the old Wingstop space adjacent to where Denny's is. And we have received a set of plans for McCollister's Deli, which is going to be right next to where La Madeleine is, in that same building. Yes, sir.
That new strip mall has been upgraded there on North Creek Drive next to Bartlett. That looks pretty good.
That does look pretty good, and to be quite honest, that was an IAD project.
Has anybody put their names in for any of those buildings?
No, I have been approached by the owner of that building for a proposed tenant, but that tenant is looking for a drive-through space, and that would be very difficult in that location. So I don't, I'm not quite at liberty to say who it is because it's only speculation at this point. He didn't really tell me. Only I can surmise what it would be. But we have not received any further plans other than the insurance place that went in there. Yes, sir.
That improved that area immensely. I mean, that looks like a different place.
It absolutely does. It was a long time coming. It was a fantastic
Looks
job
good.
done and a great improvement for that
Tell the folks
stretch of the road.
Tell the folks that did it very good.
Well, again, that was Brent Bowles, the same architect that we're looking to do City Hall.
Real nice.
We know the Christian Brothers is close to being done. They're doing their interior finishes. Excuse me. The Tractor Supply expansion, which was a greenhouse on the right side of that building, had just had their final inspection today. And HEB Curbside is about complete. They've run into a snag with sourcing parts for their freezer. So some of their freezer parts are on back order.
What is that?
The HEB Curbside expansion?
HEB curbside.
Yeah.
So even HEB is having a hard time getting.
That's right.
HEB can't buy compressors.
With contractors.
Are we getting any bites behind HEB?
You mean in regards to the vacant lands back
Yes.
there? Nothing's come across my desk as far as any proposals. I'm sure that there's whisperings out there, but they haven't caught my ear.
That stuff that was in the works of being developed a year ago, that's history.
A lot of stuff that was being developed right around the time that COVID took over took a very, very back seat. And some of them have been revived and some of them have just been rumors. Others have completely gone away.
Nothing
As an
concrete.
example, we've had La Quinta proposed for 2 different locations here in the city. Neither one of them have panned out, even though we have gone through the full plan review process and permitting process, including site development for those areas. Home 2 Suites was another one that was talked about moving over in that area, but that also
Behind HEB.
that also died. Yeah.
What about that mixed-use commercial residential by Home Depot that we got all the way through planners?
Yeah, there's another good example of one that the city did a lot of work to help the owners develop, and it got to the point where it was about ready to be permitted and move forward, and because of finances or timing, it has dried up.
What
Coach,
expen-
did you have something to say? Add?
Kind of a coincidence that you brought that up today. Kenny Berner and I signed a listing agreement, so I get to go market the property, and I plan to do it in a big way. And I would like to work with you guys for you to, we all have to work together and find out what we can do. There's lots of restrictions with, HEB and what can be done there, and working with you guys, and I know there's been a lot of discussion. So I have 2 very quick months that I plan on putting a lot of marketing material together. I plan on going to a conference in Dallas at the end of March where I can talk to developers. So it's important to me that we work with you guys to figure out what we would like to see there and what we think would be best fit, and so I can go directly target those developers. It'll be just basically a lineup. So.
Do you have all of it back there? All of what Kenny's got?
So
Or just that corner
the
piece
hotel
on-
is going on the one piece, and I have. Can you do any? I have it all in my car, but do you know the lot that's already been?
The home 2 was proposed for this corner on Oak and Circle.
So it's been sold. Will you go grab that in my car? I can send you a survey. Can we pull it up? We can table it and send it.
Are you
Or
working?
you can do it to me. You can talk to me
So
later.
there's one lot that the hotel he already owns, and he has the first right of refusal on another lot next to it, and so the others will be for sale. There's four lots for sale technically.
Are you working with Troy Brimmons in that group?
I'm not. I'm working with Kenny Berner.
Troy's not with that, Kenny Burns?
Not for quite a while now.
It's been quite a while.
To
Oh,
answer
okay.
your question, is that there's the overlay that we did for that property, and you just need to, I think you need to set up some time with city staff, and then explain what
Absolutely.
restrictions are there, and that'll give you a good.
Yeah, I know that we needed to all get together and kind of talk about it. This literally escalated today, so I plan on doing that later. So.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks for the update. The other thing, just a caveat to what David had talked about also is that what I tell people is that there is no guarantee on any of this stuff until they open the door. We know that from a lot of stuff. So this is best information we have, but again, wait till they open the door.
Yeah, and once again, I can speak directly to what we have in our office and what has gone through our office. Anything else is just rumors in the mill. I'm not going to say, it's Olive Garden 2.0 with any of the rumors, but we hear lots of stuff. But as the mayor has indicated, until they submit something, we really can't say, yes, this is happening, or no, it's not.
So anything
What-
expanding in the mall, sorry, go ahead.
One quick question. The old Ricochet, it looked like it's a vacant building now. Across from Lollipop and across there, I guess it used to be a food pantry.
Well, there's
You know,
another
back
pool
there.
hall moved in there, didn't it?
I'm not aware as to where the old Ricochet was.
On this
Oh,
way,
yeah.
this way.
Yeah, that's, looked like they was closed
Okay,
down.
so Ricochet's did close.
That was years, but that was before
Yeah,
your time.
Rick Clark did close down at the beginning of COVID, or shortly after COVID hit in 2020. But then Brazos Billiards opened back up in that same spot using a very similar business model.
They're in there now.
Yep.
You're talking about ricochets
Yeah.
or shooters?
Shooters,
downtown.
shooters.
Oh.
True light.
Okay, shooters,
True light is
okay,
still there.
shooters, I'm sorry, shooters.
Ricochets is by Distinctive
Yes,
Dental.
yes, shooters.
Okay, yeah, see, those names don't mean anything to me, shooters.
Good for you.
All right.
So any expansion, I heard some expansion on Regal Storage by 2004 Bucky's?
Well, that has been discussed with council and planners on a couple of occasions. And so they have brought up a proposal to expand that Regal storage further back into their space. But that has been a discussion with city committees. But we have not received any plans for that yet at this time. And Mr. Singhania, I heard you mention the mall itself. I would defer any questions in regards to mall leasing to Lori over at Centennial Management, mainly because very much like what I had said, everything's rumors until something actually hits. She would have much better information as to what can be said and what can't be said.
So my question was going to be, would that come through the city as well, or would that inside mall expansion would not be part of the city permit process?
Not necessarily. A city permit process usually has to do with the fact that they're developing land or redeveloping a space. Now, if you could take retail space and move another retailer in there without it being a change of use, and with very minimal work, and in a lot of cases, that work may just be cosmetic, in which case a building permit may not be required. So I would, if you have questions about the mall, I would contact Lori. Because until something comes through as a building permit, because they're doing significant work, or at least work that would cross that threshold, we wouldn't necessarily know until we got notification, with a sign permit or anything of that nature.
Thank you.
Okay.
And this will be an ongoing agenda item, even if Mr. Walton and his team don't have anything to report. So you'll see this every council meeting now.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 8, city manager's update on the
I'm breathing before I speak. Hopefully, this will be off by May, and the next update will be just the next storm.
Right.
We did get.
You were optimistic.
Yes, I am optimistic that we will have another storm someday. We did get a tentative approval, I think, on January 25th or 26th from TCEQ that we could mulch and leave the material on the old landfill, with the caveat that we meet all requirements of subchapter T of covering landfills. Subchapter T regulates building on landfills, so we will have to follow all regulations as if we were building something on the old landfill. Staff is not familiar with all the subchapter T requirements, so we have a proposal that was submitted to me by Altamira. Thank you for the mayor for getting us in contact with Altamira. And I have that on my desk. I probably will not execute that until we open bids next week. We put in for bids for hauling the material, grinding the material, leaving it there, grinding the material and taking it to a burn site owned by Dow Chemical in Freeport, that Freeport, actually the city of Freeport used, or picking up the material as is and burning that. So I want to really look at the cost differential of how much will it cost to leave it there, and what are all the hurdles that we'll have in place to get it approved to mulch it on the site. I don't know if it's just a couple of sheets of paperwork and getting approval, or if we've invited TCEQ into our lives for the next 2 years on the old landfill. So we'll probably have a recommendation to you at the next council meeting on where we're going, especially after we open the bids on the 15th. So that's where we are status-wise.
So I have a question. So since we were looking at moving material from here to Freeport, can we still consider that moving it for protecting the sand dunes? Since we could be moving it anyway, and cost of moving, we can perhaps,
Moving
taking
it
the
for
sand dunes is
you
county.
have to get approval from the GLO, and the county had enough trouble just trying to get a permit from the GLO to take care of their storm debris. And so I don't think that we would have a chance to go try that again to get
I understand.
approval from
It's
GLO.
unfortunate part, that we could help the ecosystem by
Right.
using their materials, so,
Yeah.
well, so be it.
Any other questions on the debris? Ongoing
Yes.
issue with the debris?
And we will be submitting an extension this week. I think our date ends, Sabrina, is it February 12th? It's February 12th, so we'll have to get a letter of extension now, which we would have to do anyway because we don't have, we were still working on the one alternative of hauling and burning. And that timeframe would still take a month or two if we were to open bids and bring that proposal to you next week. So we'll be submitting an extension, probably most likely for 90 days, and bringing this back on the next council meeting.
All right.
Sal, construction updates for your areas.
Okay, would you go back to that the previous screen there you have there so I can remember what I'm doing? Okay, let me work myself from the bottom up, downtown phase 3. Of course, you have, and you are probably noticing most of the work as they go along. The contractor has shown, a lot of interest in finishing this job the way they're proposing to, especially they're working on Saturdays, primarily trying to make some time because of what the weather has done to them. But even with the weather being as nasty it has been lately, they were able to be present here in full force. So we are at this time impressed by what they are, what they have shown, the interest they've shown in doing this job. They have done, they have already done some sanitary sewer, which has been a very tedious type situation because we are running across every communication line that there could be. I'm talking about AT&T, we're talking about all this fiber optics and everything, and trying to thread these particular pipes through there has been quite a challenge. This is one of the things that I was really concerned, that's the reason why I've been concerned about permitting along the right-of-ways, because we're losing ground, we're losing really our use of that right-of-way, and it's only getting worse. They are also already started putting in some water line on the north parking place portion segment. They are going to be trying to reconnect some water lines at that location tomorrow. They ran across some problems with the valving, cutting off the line without creating problems. They're going to try to do it tomorrow. Hopefully, nobody will be, or at least will be impacted as minimal as it could. The other project associated with this particular downtown is the canopy. The demolition of the existing canopies. We have already gotten the contractor to sign off on all the contracts. He has been wanting to start this job either this week or the latter part of this week, so they could start doing that one. He's trying to get in contact with the general contractor so there won't be any conflict of equipment and people. So that's also in the works. RMA is going to be doing that work. We, as a matter of fact, talked to one of the owners of the building there today. Megan brought him in so we could explain to him what it was that he could expect in his property. And
Can you not start that till 4:30 on Wednesday?
4:30 on Wednesday, we will.
He'll be on a cruise.
We will try to do
I know
that.
how to get in touch with you.
COVID cruise.
Take my phone.
COVID cruise.
On the bond projects, of course, you know, the dog, what was it?
I got you.
Oh, you got me on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll jump over into our project and the bond project, which is the street projects. We have already given the contract, and they have already started on the design portion of the Shady Oaks and the Pin Oak type of areas. So that is already in their bailiwick, and they should be working on that one for the next at least 4 months. They're going to be doing the surveying and the actual line work on that particular project, design work. On the general fund projects, I will let the Parks Department take care of their projects. They have 2 projects going on, and they can give you their current status. On the other general fund projects, I am still talking. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had a call from a large high-density pipe installer, large diameter installer, that is highly interested in coming over here and discussing this project with us to see whether it's going to be the solution to the Shy Pond outfall project. Hope that is the case, and we can proceed with that project that's kind of stayed dormant since we last worked on it. And I think those are the only projects that we had. So,
Robin, you got an update on parks?
Yes, the one is the roof project, which is still ongoing, and the rain didn't help. Good thing is that some of the old leaks are fixed now, but we found some new ones, but we're keeping track of all of that, so. Yeah, I know. It was, something I'm like, where did this one come from? But anyway, that's going along great, and they're still moving forward with the March date to do the other, the flat roof, or the roof over the natatorium. So we're just delayed on material for that. The next one is the skate park is finally going to start the end of this month. The start date is scheduled for the 28th. We're hoping to probably start a little groundwork before then. So we're really excited about that one. So.
Did you have any more thoughts about doing a groundbreaking?
Yes, we want to do something. Any ideas you got, let me know. We've talked about a few things. We've got a skateboard. We can put, training wheels.
I think it would be good is if you had some people that played a role in the task force.
Yes.
Just see if they're still available, and just do something short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all excited about it.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great to have them participate in the groundbreaking.
Yeah, I've already had 2 guys that I think were big when we had our meetings and stuff that have emailed me and stuff, so they're really excited to hear it.
Okay,
so.
you better hurry. You got 21 days.
So.
If you can.
You mean groundbreaking? I thought you meant afterwards. I was going to do something
That's a
after.
ribbon cutting.
That's a ribbon.
Okay, a groundbreaking.
Trying to have a shovel.
No, I haven't done. Okay, so yes, I will think and see. Yeah, I guess I better try to
Switch
get something
gears.
together.
It would be special if you could do it, but.
We'll get Laura Marie to come out with her. She can get her phone. We'll get some people out there. But yeah, we'll try to do something.
Gold shovels and gold hard hats.
Yeah.
I doubt we have
Okay.
to go,
You
but-
threw me in there.
Yeah. So I was thinking ribbon cutting, but yes, we'll get something going. I'll see what we
Because,
can do.
again, it's a big deal for a lot of people in
Yeah.
the community.
So yes, I wanted to. Yeah, we've been trying to get some other things together, but I got engineering on it too to help me and make sure that we're doing everything we needed to do too. So it's gone. I think it's pretty good.
It's great.
All right. Thank you. That's all we got.
Check Sal's work.
I got Marlene.
He sees a hole in the ground as a detention pond.
You made him sit up.
Hey, he told me it was my dance. I had to start coming up and talking for myself.
All right. Anything else?
Bond
Maybe.
projects, we do have one other update. The library flooring project is moving along, so we went through Buy Board, which is a cooperative purchasing agency, to find the contractor. They're already competitively bid. If you're not familiar with cooperative purchasing, just talk to me or Vinay. But they came out and we just got the quote today from them, their proposal, and it is way more competitive than we expected, and way under budget. So if you remember, we budgeted $300,000 for that, approved by the bond. It came in at about $230,000, which is I didn't think we had enough money in the beginning, so they're gonna move the books, help out the library, and it's gonna look beautiful, I think. So the library's very excited. So next agenda, as long as myself and the library are comfortable with it, you will see that so that we can start moving forward, because the library has a timeline that we're trying to work within. So
I took my kids there this weekend, Saturday, and
It's amazing.
they've already started moving stuff around.
yes,
So, like,
yeah,
the
they're ready.
computers, the
They are so,
computers, yeah.
yes, and like I said, we have a really, really good company working with us. So
I saw on social media that there was another school, library district, public library district that was asking for volunteers to move books.
yes, usually they have to, and this company is willing to do it for about $35,000, which is a big difference than what we were originally quoted. So they're willing to move every book in there for us.
Nice.
So it should be great. The only other thing I wanted to say about downtown, I don't know if they get enough credit. Sal, Eddie, and Ethelston have just really hit it out of the park working with all of our contractors. I have not heard a single complaint from any business, which at this point I'm a little shocked. And like he said, I brought in a property owner that had questions today, and they dropped everything to meet with them for me. So yeah, I just want to say kudos, especially to Sal and Eddie. They're really hands-on with this project, so their whole team is great.
Do you want to take back what you said about her?
That's all.
Anything else, Podesta?
The new kid on the block.
Rose-colored glasses.
All right, so we'll move on to items of community interest. Baker, you have anything?
No, sir.
Altus ER on Monday, Valentine's Day the 14th. We are having a blood drive from 2 to 5. Mhm,
At your
2,
place?
2 to 5. So you can come on in. They'll be bringing in the big trailer and all that. I'm not going to be drawing your blood.
So you're gonna stick me? Otherwise, I'm not gonna go.
I got a lot of
I trust you to do it, but
February 14th?
I'm not sure if they're doing the platelets or not, but blood drive for the community on that date.
Okay, nothing. Renee? Matt?
when you're done at the blood drive, you can early vote. First day of early voting is February 14th, and that'll be primary elections, both Democrat and Republican. You will not vote at the library. You will not vote at the Civic Center. You will be voting at 202 Peach Street. Please tell all your friends, all your family, because that is a big change for people for as long as I've been voting. We voted here by the City Hall. That is no longer true. 202 Peach Street, for those who don't know, online or whatever, it's like Plantation, Sycamore, back that direction, away towards the highway from, but not Sycamore into the subdivision, but Sycamore the other way towards the highway. It's just right there, but it's a brand new building, brand new street, so a lot of people never been there before. So spread the word, please, that we're not voting anywhere near City
I
Hall.
will never ask you to tell me how to get to go buy coffee.
You just
Yeah,
should have
buy
told
the
him, go down
coffee,
this way,
buy the
then that way, and
It's like
then
it's
circle way.
behind the old Sonic on Plantation, which a lot of people don't know where that is, but
And just tell them behind Winnie's. A lot of them will get behind Winnie's.
The other thing is also, remember, is you can vote anywhere in Missouri County.
that's correct. You can early vote at any of the locations.
Except for the Civic Center.
Except for the, well, it's not a location, so any
And
location.
it's no longer straight party ticket voting.
That's correct. Yeah, this is primary, so
People
you.
still don't know that.
Yeah, you'll have to pick a primary Republican to get that primary ballot, but then, yeah, even in November, you will not be able to straight ticket.
State law last year.
State law changed, yeah.
All right, anything else with the,
No,
Matt?
no, that's it.
Two things real quick was, I and then also Vinay we made it out to the Seniors Expo that we had at the Civic Center. It was real good turnout. We had a lot of good vendors. Turnout was great. It wasn't a huge like we've had in the past, but it was still great for first one we've had in 2 years. And it really worked out really well. A lot of good information that was passed on to seniors, along with all the little trinkets that they received. Also, we had the dedication of the Civic Center in name of Mayor Doris Williams. And we had really good, even though it was terrible weather, we had extremely good turnout. I was really excited about the turnout. And Ms. Williams was very appreciative of the city doing that. And she was very proud of it. She had family come in for it and so forth. So staff did a great job in making that happen and stuff. And the Civic Center sign looks great. Had a lot of good feedback on that. And while you were there, you could buy you a hot tub if you wanted to. 'Cause they were there all weekend long.
I don't know if they were successful.
I don't think they usually are, but they do.
One thing.
Yeah,
Can
go
we,
ahead.
I noticed on Plantation, we're becoming the food truck capital out there. A lot of new food trucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already, I've had some
You
comments
know,
from citizens.
a lot of food trucks on Plantation.
So, Modesto and I have been talking about it with David and with Sherry, and, we're gonna be bringing the food truck ordinances back to council for some changes.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Yeah, council had asked for 2 items, and so we'll be bringing it, at least the food truck ordinance changes, we'll be running those by Sherry, and then bringing those to you. And then the council also directed us to work with, I guess, also planners on a zoning for food trucks, for a food court. So we kind of got a 2 project that covers those.
There was some interest in the past about a food court area there, but never materialized.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so
that's
staff-
why I went on the back burner, because there
Yeah.
wasn't any interest, but there's new interest for a food truck court coming up. So,
Thank you.
anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and